okay, this will lead into segue into Colin Kaepernick because he's like a firebrand for for both sides of the political aisle. Conservatives obviously don't like Colin Kaepernick for kneeling, during the whole during the national anthem, and the conservatives say, "Hey, man." At first, it was like, "Hey, you're disrespecting the military." Again, what I mean? Like, it wasn't. They didn't,
No, it's no a protest against police. But
right?
okay, if you want to take it that way, that's you.
Yeah,
That's
right,
you
right, right, right. That's
doing
what,
that. But
right.
okay.
Because see, this is the one thing I don't like. Like, I'm registered as a Republican, but it's like I don't. It's a so okay. I don't vote Democrat because I think there's a lot of Democratic candidates that got the crazy eyes and like let's do some crazy stuff. I don't know. That's a little bit too crazy for me. I like things a little bit more nuclear family stuff. But anyways, but voting for Republicans, it's almost like you have to turn off parts of your brain. You have to like it's like a suspension of disbelief. One of those things is like whenever somebody makes a contrarian point, such as what Mr. Kaepernick did with the kneeling down, um, I don't get triggered. That's what happened. Is like the conservatives got triggered, but I look at it and say, okay, there's got to be a reason, right? Like because it's such a vulgar thing to do. If you were just doing it just to insult the flag
Mhm.
or the anthem, it's a vulgar thing, So it's something that's so unnatural. So when somebody does that, I think, okay, I don't get triggered and say, how dare you? I say, okay, what's actually causing, this person to do that? And let's investigate the reason why. I think it's fair. I think, okay, yes, you may
No,
be,
absolutely.
right? Even if you're like, a 20-year, service member and you love, you sleep with the American flag and, Old Glory and whatnot. And, you can be decorated and all that stuff. And you just have this immense love for the country. It's good for you. But I think it's also fair to say that, okay, even though you might be insulted and maybe Kaepernick insulted millions of Americans, but I think it's also fair to say, okay, let's at least consider why he's doing
Absolutely.
right.
No,
Um,
absolutely. I mean, no, I mean, none of us are ever going to completely agree, on everything. That's inevitable. But if we do our due diligence not to maybe only believe what we're spoon fed and maybe kind of reach out and look at the other side and see what maybe we can find in terms of a commonality,
right.
that's how we're going to move forward as a society. It's not worrying about our differences and exploiting those differences and causing a wedge between ourselves. But no, it's okay. I disagree with you, but I'm willing to hear your side. It probably won't change my opinion, but at the least I can see where you're coming from and try to understand that.
I think that's where the Republicans they just and you have to be fair too. The Democrats are a lot of them are just stuck on their
No,
socialist
but
paradise,
both
right?
sides of the aisle
Right.
are very, very stubborn.
I think though, and I have to say from the Republican perspective, when the Colin Kaepernick issue came out, um, I was very I was so pissed off because at first, okay, the very first thing was how dare you disrespect the flag. But then
Hmm.
when that didn't quite get traction, because the other side said no, it's about police brutality. Then the conservatives' next move was how dare you disrespect the military, even though Colin Kaepernick never once disrespected the military. He's never said anything about the military at all. I think he was probably standing when the F-16s, flew by, but and he's always respected the military as far as I know. But he suddenly they play the military card. It's like when the conservatives have no argument because they didn't have an argument about the police brutality. They said military, right? Let's put the military card, and then when that didn't get traction, or when there was pushback against even that, then they started to say, well, pick a better. Yeah, there's a we finally the conservatives, a lot of conservatives said, okay, we concede that there's a police brutality issue, but pick a better time to protest. And I'm like, wait a minute, like I understand that point of okay, pick a better time, but it's like, what better time to protest? Because right, because the reason
he has a platform.
he has a platform, and people say, well, pick a different way to protest, pick a different venue to protest, and all that stuff. But it's like Americans are freaking retarded, right? You know this. Most Americans are retarded. And they're programmed now, and I'm starting to become Alex Jones right now. Let me have my Alex Jones moment. But Americans are programmed for decades now. I think the NFL is sort of like a psyop, and they know exactly what they're doing. The producers, because back when the NFL started, the players weren't paid anything, peanuts for what they were doing, and honestly. You're playing a kid's game. You shouldn't really get compensated billions of dollars. I mean, this is crazy, right? But anyways, that's another topic. But the NFL originally may have started out as like a just a professional sports league purely, but then over the decades, it has become an entertainment empire.
Oh yeah,
and the TV producers, all the media producers, they know exactly what they're doing. They said, okay, we can generate tons of money by just brainwashing American families, so that come September, from September through February, every Sunday and sometimes Monday and now Thursday and sometimes Wednesday on certain holidays, right? Boom, you have football, and everybody's like. For 4 or 5 hours, sometimes the whole day. Some people are so obsessed with football, they will earmark the whole freaking day for football, right?
Yep.
And this is the crazy thing is like we know and we have a mutual friend of ours. I guess we'll call him Bob. I mean, I don't have Bob's permission to use his real name, but. Bob's a cool cat, but Bob's like, he's like waiting for September, right? Because he's like, oh yeah, it's football, right? People's lives are literally revolved around football season, right? They don't really care about baseball, basketball too much, hockey, right? Football, it's all about football. Without football, Americans' lives become a little bit more sad, actually very sad. People should do a statistic on American happiness. That statistic that I think I don't know if it was recorded or not, but we were talking about happiness. Oh no, you did. You mentioned the happiness index. We're not a very happy country. Maybe we should do that survey though during football season, right?
There we go.
Right? Especially the playoffs. Holy shit, we would be so happy, right?
The Church of Football. It's a new religion.
Exactly. Football is another religion. Military-industrial complex is one. Football is the other. It's like we just need one more, vice, and then we've got the holy trinity of entertainment, right? But the whole point here is that if you don't get Americans' attention during football season, you're not going to get Americans' attention at all. There's a reason why the general election's in November. It's in the middle of football season.
See, that was the big fault of Sanders. If he was playing football out in the streets, he would have won, but he didn't. You dropped the ball, literally and figuratively, old man.
Some would say that the ball was dropped for him, but either way.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I am of that camp. But.
Yeah, I saw some. And this is again, this is where you don't always have to disagree with Alex Jones, right? I mean, sometimes he does point out some truth. Was that the fourth one? um,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
that was
the fourth.
fourth, fifth, maybe
Yeah. Okay,
fourth, fifth, something.
something like that. But anyways, this is a perfect opportunity for Kaepernick, and I actually personally, I don't have any. Unlike you, where you discovered that you're also at least partially a brother, right? I'm not a brother. Like, I have no black uh, in
Hmm.
me whatsoever. I'm the least black person on earth, and I have no understanding of the black community and the black experience. I have no idea what it's like to be black. Okay, but having said that, I can appreciate why a black man would feel the way that he does about
Yeah.
police brutality. And so I applaud Kaepernick, actually, personally. I think he did a great. I think he was very shrewd in picking this particular specific platform to protest,
Hmm.
because otherwise, if he didn't, you know what? Let's say he protested by writing a few letters to his congressman or whatever, right? What is that going to do? It's not going to do anything, right?
That'll get no coverage.
That will get no coverage. You know what? And
Hmm.
he's so smart. This is why he is so smart. He's like, you know what? This is the best way to confront the establishment
Hmm.
by protesting the national anthem, because part of that is he was committing a sacrilegious act,
Hmm.
right? That's why everybody was so angry, the conservatives, because you know that was the flag and the military industrial complex is their Jesus, right? And you just spat on Jesus. And what Colin Kaepernick was saying is like, no, there's something wrong here. There's something wrong here. You can't have police going crazy just because someone's black.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's career suicide, but you know,
But it isn't.
if
It he knew, right? I mean, he must have known in his head
no,
this is gonna.
exactly. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, and
He
then
knew the risk, and he bit the bullet for it,
he
and
did.
it's cool.
I think that, I mean, because if some of the other criticisms was that, well, Colin Kaepernick is he was already washed up at that point, and he wasn't that good of an athlete, so he was like no loss to him. Actually, I completely disagree with that, because I don't know exactly what happened that he became like a backup quarterback, but I'm
Mhm.
telling you, I've seen some crazy. Like, I think Colin Kaepernick is probably one of the most gifted, athletically gifted um, athletes. Well, athletically gifted quarterbacks, I should say. So I need to edit that out. But he is one of the most athletically gifted quarterbacks, football players ever. Because one time I saw this guy. I think it was in a playoff game, and he was getting pressured from the defensive lineman. He's scrambling, looking for an open receiver, and then the mofo he jumps and he throws a bullet like 40 or 50 yards. And I was like, what the hell? If anybody's watching this and they have a clip of that, please like send that over, share that link, because it's like one of the greatest athletic plays ever in the history of sports. He jumped and he threw the ball 40 or 50 yards. Look, uh, you know, throwing a football 40 yards, that's when you're just on the ground, and you have like under ideal circumstances for the average person, 40 yards is a pretty long distance to throw the football. This guy did it midair. There's no earth for him to gain any traction. That was just all arm, all arm. you when you throw a football, you use your whole body to to launch that. He did it. He did it midair. One of the greatest plays that I have ever seen. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So and the NFL is gonna like toss that aside. It's I don't think he was a backup quarterback for athletic reasons. I think it was purely political or something technical. But it wasn't because of his ability. Because if I owned an NFL team, I'd have Kaepernick as my quarterback. That guy was just out. I mean, he was just mind blowing. And so I think he sacrificed, man. I think
Oh yeah.
he those millions of dollars that it just it went bye bye because he protested. But
He did what he thought was right.
yeah, and I think it's at least and that's the thing. He won because we're talking about it,
Exactly.
right? Like no matter
The discussion's rolling.
yeah, right. No matter what color you are, we're talking about this issue, and it's all because of Kaepernick.